This is the story of a TikTok comedian who for a time was beloved by millions. You might have seen him. His name was Ali Abulaban, but the internet knew him as Jin Kid. With nearly 1 million followers, a beautiful family, and what looked like a perfect life in sunny San Diego, he was on a rocket ship to stardom. His celebrity impressions and goofy skits were everywhere, but as millions laughed at his viral videos, they had no clue they were watching a man whose life was spiraling out of control. Because behind the laughter, there was a hidden trail of chaos, domestic violence, and a dark obsession that would lead to a horrifying end. This isn't just a story about a creator getting canceled. It's the story of a TikTok star who became a convicted double murderer. This is our investigation into the videos he didn't want you to see, the evidence from a murder trial, and his shocking downfall from viral fame to a life behind bars. So, how did it all go so wrong? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. Ali Abulaban was an American kid who enlisted in the military right after high school. It was while he was stationed overseas that he met his future wife, Aina. After she became pregnant, she moved to the United States, and eventually, the couple settled in San Diego with their young daughter, chasing that California dream. On the surface, they were this attractive, happy young couple, and it was on TikTok that Ali found his stage. Under the username Jin Kid, he started posting videos that just took off. His whole thing was comedy, especially these uncanny impersonations of iconic characters. His most popular by a mile was Tony Montana from the movie Scarface. He'd post clips of himself spouting the character's famous lines in totally normal situations, like ordering at a drive-thru, and they went viral. He also did spot-on impressions of characters from the video game Skyrim and the rapper 6ix9ine, showing he had a real talent for mimicry. His follower count exploded. Tens of thousands became hundreds of thousands. His videos, which often featured his wife Aina, painted this picture of a fun-loving husband and father who was right on the verge of making it big. The Jin Kid persona was working. He was racking up followers, views, and all the validation that comes with internet fame. He wasn't just some guy making funny videos anymore. He was becoming an internet celebrity with ambitions far beyond the app. He dreamed of being a real actor, using his TikTok fame as a launchpad for a Hollywood career. To his nearly 1 million followers, Jin Kid was a comedian on the rise, a success story in the making. But as his follower count ticked up, his real life was starting to unravel. At his peak, Jin Kid was the definition of a successful creator. He had a massive engaged audience and the lifestyle to match, living in a luxury high-rise apartment in downtown San Diego. The life he showed online was glamorous. He and Aina were often in his videos together, playing the part of the perfect couple, a dynamic duo entertaining their huge audience. This carefully crafted image was crucial to his brand. The happy family man persona made his sometimes chaotic comedy feel more grounded and relatable. But friends would later say that Ali became obsessed with his fame. He wasn't just Ali Abulaban anymore. He was Jin Kid, the internet star. And in his mind, that meant he deserved a certain level of respect and admiration. This growing ego was being fueled by a burgeoning cocaine addiction and a deep-seated insecurity that was about to boil over in the most violent way imaginable. Behind the scenes, The perfect marriage was a complete lie. The relationship was falling apart, riddled with arguments and jealousy. Friends of Aina would later testify about how controlling he was, saying Ali would dictate simple things like what she was allowed to wear. He recorded many of their fights on his phone, creating this disturbing archive of a marriage in total collapse. In one clip, he's seen towering over Aina as she sits on the couch, telling the camera, "Don't get married, guys. I threw my whole life away for her." In another recording, you can hear Aina's voice, shaky but firm, saying, "Ali, this marriage is not healthy anymore." His obsession with fame and his need for control had created a toxic powder keg. While the world saw Jin Kid, the hilarious comedian, Aina was living with Ali, a man friends would describe as volatile and jealous. And that's when things took a much darker turn. The whole facade started to crumble in the fall of 2021. The fights had escalated from verbal to physical. During his trial, Abulaban himself admitted to physically abusing Aina. There were multiple instances of domestic violence. In one incident, he punched her in the face. A photo shown in court revealed Aina's face badly bruised, a shocking contrast to the smiling woman everyone saw in his TikToks. Friends testified that Aina was scared for her life and would often stay at their houses just to get away from him. Finally, on October 18, 2021, Aina asked him to move out. This was the final break. For a man obsessed with control, losing his wife was an unbearable blow to his ego. Prosecutors would later argue that he was so possessive that his mindset was, if he couldn't have her, no one could. Aina had made up her mind and was reportedly taking steps to get a restraining order against him. Ali moved into a hotel, but his obsession only got worse. Just 3 days after she asked him to leave, he secretly made a copy of their apartment key. While Aina was out, he let himself in and completely trashed the place. Clothes were thrown everywhere, and her belongings were destroyed. But he did something else, something far more sinister. He took his 5-year-old daughter's iPad, installed a listening app, and hid it, allowing him to spy on Aina's conversations in the apartment from anywhere. He wasn't just a jealous ex-husband anymore. He was actively stalking his estranged wife, using his own child's device to do it. The stage was set for a tragedy, and the clock was ticking dot with that listening app installed. Ali's paranoia spiraled into a full-blown surveillance operation. He was living in a hotel, but his ears were inside the apartment, listening to every word, every sound, monitoring Aina's life from afar. The line between his online persona and his dark reality had completely dissolved. While Jin Kid was still a name on social media, Ali Abulaban was consumed by jealousy and rage. On the morning of October 21st, 2021, Aina came home to her trashed apartment. Distraught, she called a friend, a man named Rayburn Barron, to come over and help her clean up the mess Ali had made. Ali, listening in through the iPad, heard Aina and Rayburn talking and laughing together. In his mind, this was the ultimate confirmation of his worst fears. The sound of his wife laughing with another man sent him into a blind rage. He grabbed his loaded gun and raced from his hotel to the Spire San Diego luxury apartment complex. Security camera footage from the building, which would later become a key piece of evidence in his trial, shows him running out of the elevator on the 35th floor. He sprints down the hallway toward the apartment, a man on a mission fueled by a toxic mix of ego, jealousy, and drugs. The man who made a living impersonating a violent movie character was now about to commit a horrific act of violence in real life. He was just seconds away from the door. What happens next is incredibly disturbing and details the events of a violent crime. If you're finding this investigation valuable for understanding the dangers of the disconnect between online personas and reality, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps us continue to bring these important and often difficult stories to light. Now, let's get back to the timeline of that tragic day. Alley burst through the apartment door. Anna and Rayburn Barron were just sitting on the couch, talking. Without a single word, Alley opened fire. He shot Rayburn Barron 3 times at close range. He then turned the gun on his wife, shooting Anna once in the forehead. It was over in seconds. His actions right after the shooting were chillingly calculated. He pulled out his phone, snapped a picture of the 2 lifeless bodies on the couch, and sent it to his mother. He then called her and confessed. Her testimony later revealed her horrified reaction. "That's not funny." "Allie, don't say that." A neighbor's security camera recorded him coming back out of the apartment, pacing in the hallway, and then going back inside, screaming Anna's name. Prosecutors argued this was all an act, the beginning of an attempt to stage a discovery of the scene. But his plan, if you can call it that, was chaotic. After confessing to his mother, he left the building, got in his car, and drove to pick up his 5-year-old daughter from school with the murder weapon still in the vehicle. He even told his daughter in the car, "I hurt Mommy." While driving on the freeway with his child in the back seat, he made a 911 call. In the recording, played for the jury, he tells the dispatcher he just arrived at the apartment to find his wife and another man dead, a desperate, last-ditch attempt to create an alibi. It was this call, contrasted with his confession to his mother, that would help seal his fate. Shortly after, police located his car and arrested him on the side of the highway. His career as Gin Kid was over. His life as a free man was over. Ali Abulaban was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, with the special circumstance of committing multiple murders. The trial in May 2024 captivated and horrified the public. The prosecution, led by Deputy District Attorney Taryn Brast, laid out a case for a cold, calculated, premeditated crime. They pointed to his history of domestic violence, Anna's desire to leave him, and the chilling act of planting a listening device on his daughter's iPad as clear evidence of planning. The defense argued for a lesser charge, like voluntary manslaughter, claiming Abulaban acted in the heat of passion. They argued that after hearing and then seeing his wife with another man, he just snapped. His lawyers tried to paint a picture of a man suffering from undiagnosed mental health issues and a cocaine addiction that impacted his state of mind. In a highly unusual move, Ali Abulaban took the stand in his own defense. For 3 days, he testified, often getting emotional and sometimes confrontational. He confessed to the killings, telling the court, "I'm shooting and I can't stop. I just snapped." But under cross-examination, his story started to fall apart. When the prosecutor suggested he shot Anna because she disrespected him, he became enraged. The jury deliberated for less than 2 days. On May 29, 2024, Ali Abulaban was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. Cheers and applause erupted from the victims' families as the verdict was read. On September 6, 2024, the judge handed down his sentence, calling Abulaban a very selfish person who committed a cold-blooded killing without remorse. The judge sentenced him to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus another 50 years for using a gun. The judge's final words were blunt. The bottom line here is you will die in prison. You will never be a free man. The story of Jin Kid is one of the most extreme examples of the disconnect between a carefully crafted online persona and a dark, violent reality. Billions of people saw a comedian, a funny guy doing skits. They had no idea that behind the camera was a man consumed by jealousy, control, and a violent rage that would leave 2 people dead and a little girl without her parents. His obsession with fame seemed to warp his entire sense of self, creating a persona he couldn't live up to and a reality he couldn't control. This case goes so far beyond internet drama or getting canceled. It plunges into the depths of criminal horror and serves as a chilling reminder that the faces we see on our screens are often just that, faces. The curated lives of influencers can hide profound darkness. In the end, Ali Abulaban was just an actor. His greatest performance was convincing the world he was a harmless comedian, when in reality he was a monster hiding in plain sight. Even at his sentencing, he begged for a chance at parole, saying a life sentence felt like being sent to hell, a statement that showed the judge he was only sorry for himself. The story of Ali and Aina Abulaban is a devastating tragedy born from domestic violence and the pressures of a life lived for an audience. It really forces you to ask an unsettling question. How does a case like this change the way we look at the creators we follow and the content we consume? Let me know what you think in the comments below.